This video will feature 2 stories with horror and mystery themes. In the background, you will hear soft rain and thunder to help you relax. I hope you enjoy this content and have a good night's sleep. The night hung heavy with the promise of a storm. The air charged with the scent of rain, soaked earth. Alexandra Sinclair sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, surrounded by shadows that seemed to dance in anticipation of the unfolding mystery. The silence was broken only by the occasional rumble of distant thunder, a prelude to the tempest that loomed on the horizon. A single flickering candle cast wavering shadows on the walls, revealing a room cluttered with dusty books and crumpled notes, a testament to Alexandra's obsession with the unexplained. As the wind whispered through the gaps in the window frames, a draft extinguished the candle, plunging the room into darkness. Undeterred, Alexandra ignited a new flame, casting a determined glow upon her face as she unfolded the mysterious letter. The paper crackled in her hands, each crease bearing the weight of secrets long buried. The words were elegant, written with a flourish that spoke of another era. "Dear Mrs. Sinclair," the letter began, its ink seemingly imbued with a sense of urgency. "The shadows of the past hold secrets untold. Venture to the abandoned mansion where the whispers of the departed echo in the halls. Uncover the truth, but beware. The malevolent shadows that guard it may not release their grip willingly." Alexandra's skepticism wrestled with a burgeoning curiosity, her investigative instincts clawing at the edges of doubt. The letter bore no signature, no clue as to its sender, yet it beckoned her like a siren's call. Outside, raindrops tapped on the window pane, as if nature itself conspired with the enigma concealed within the words. With an air of trepidation, Alexandra donned a coat, the raincoat's hood pulled tight against the impending storm. She ventured into the night, the mansion's location etched in the coordinates provided in the letter. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the distant howls of wolves, a symphony of the unknown. The journey took her deeper into the heart of the woods, where gnarled branches reached out like skeletal fingers, as if warning her of the secrets that lay ahead. The mansion emerged from the shadows, its silhouette etched against the bruised canvas of the night. Ivy-clad walls cradled the structure, and the windows stared like vacant eyes, telling tales of a bygone era haunted by tragedy. Alexandra hesitated at the threshold, her heart pounding in synchrony with the storm's crescendo. Lightning momentarily unveiled the mansion's facade, revealing ornate carvings and broken statues that seemed to weep in perpetual sorrow. The heavy door groaned as she pushed it open, the creaking a ghostly prelude to the mysteries that awaited within. As the door closed behind her, enveloping Alexandra in an oppressive darkness, the storm outside reached its zenith. She stood alone in the grand foyer, the air heavy with the scent of age and decay. The echoes of footsteps seemed to resonate from the past, and the flickering candle in her trembling hand cast elongated shadows on the ancient wallpaper. The mansion awaited her exploration, each creak of the floorboards and rustle of unseen movement, a chorus of anticipation. Alexandra Sinclair, propelled by a mix of fear and fascination, stepped further into the shadows, her journey into the unknown beginning with the first tentative breaths of the haunted mansion story. The mansion's grand entrance creaked open reluctantly, as if revealing secrets it had long sworn to keep buried. Raindrops danced in the dim light, casting eerie shadows across the cracked marble floor. Alexandra stepped over the threshold, her senses instantly assaulted by the musty scent of decay and the faint echo of distant whispers. The flickering candlelight played tricks on the wallpaper, making long-forgotten patterns come to life. Alexandra moved cautiously, tracing her fingers along the peeling edges of the faded wallpaper, as if trying to decipher the mansion's history through the very fabric of its walls. The ghostly whispers intensified, a soft symphony of sorrowful murmurs that seemed to beckon her further into the heart of darkness. As she ascended the creaking staircase, each step groaned beneath her weight, protesting the intrusion of the living into the realm of the dead. The portraits lining the walls watched her progress with hollow eyes, capturing moments of long-lost elegance now tainted by the passage of time. Alexandra's fingers trailed over the dusty frames, feeling the icy gaze of the painted occupants follow her every move. The corridor on the second floor stretched endlessly, its walls adorned with peeling wallpaper and shattered memories. Alexandra's flashlight flickered, casting long shadows that danced and distorted the once grandiose architecture. She approached a door at the end of the hallway, its paint worn away to reveal the grainy texture of ancient wood beneath. With a hesitant breath, Alexandra turned the rusted handle, and the door creaked open, revealing a room frozen in time. Tattered curtains billowed in the chill breeze, their ethereal dance mimicking the ghostly presence that lingered within. Antique furniture, draped in dusty sheets, stood like silent witnesses to the tragedies that unfolded within these walls. In the center of the room, a long-forgotten music box rested on a forgotten vanity, its delicate melody playing a haunting tune. The ghostly whispers grew louder, their sorrowful chorus resonating with the haunting music. Alexandra felt a chill crawl up her spine, an otherworldly presence pressing against the fabric of her sanity. As she reached out to touch the music box, the whispers converged into fragmented voices, revealing snippets of the mansion's tormented past. The tragedy unfolded like a spectral tableau, and Alexandra found herself ensnared in the memories of those who once called this place home. The air thickened with a palpable sorrow, as if the very walls wept for the souls trapped within the tapestry of time. The chapter ended with Alexandra standing alone in the room, the music box now silent, the ghostly whispers subsiding. Yet the oppressive weight of the mansion's history clung to her, and she realized that the echoes of the past were not confined to mere whispers. They were the siren songs of the damned, calling her further into the abyss. The air within the mansion hung heavy, a stifling mix of ancient dust and the damp scent of decay. Alexandra's steps echoed through the dimly lit corridor, her flashlight casting long, quivering shadows on the peeling wallpaper. The ghostly whispers intensified, weaving through the oppressive silence like ethereal tendrils. As Alexandra rounded a corner, the atmosphere shifted. A cold draft brushed against her skin, causing the flickering flame of her flashlight to dance erratically. A soft murmur echoed in the darkness, barely audible yet laden with a sinister intent. "Alexandra," it whispered, a spectral breath that sent shivers down her spine. Unnerved but determined, Alexandra pressed on, guided by an invisible force deeper into the mansion's heart. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly, the walls closing in on her as if the very structure of the mansion resisted her intrusion. The oppressive silence was shattered by the occasional creak of floorboards, each sound a haunting reminder of the unseen presence that watched her every move. A doorway loomed ahead, its frame barely visible in the dim light. As Alexandra approached, the temperature plummeted and the air thickened with an otherworldly tension. The door swung open with a slow, deliberate creak, revealing a room cloaked in shadows. The room pulsed with an unseen malevolence. The walls seemed to writhe, their peeling wallpaper taking on grotesque shapes in the faint light. Alexandra's breath caught in her throat as her flashlight illuminated a figure standing in the center of the room, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to absorb what little light remained. "Alexandra," the ghostly voice whispered again, this time closer, echoing within the confines of her mind. The figure began to move, gliding toward her with an unsettling grace. Alexandra's heart raced, her senses heightened as the malevolent entity revealed itself. The room flickered with phantom images, memories long forgotten and nightmares resurrected. Faces of the past emerged from the darkness, distorted and contorted in silent agony. Alexandra's breath quickened, her mind a battlefield between reason and the supernatural. The figure halted before her, an indistinct shape that defied the laws of the physical world. The voice echoed once more, a whisper that seemed to emanate from the very walls. "You cannot escape," it taunted, a promise of torment that resonated within the recesses of Alexandra's soul. In that chilling moment, Alexandra stood at the precipice of a reality unbound by the laws of the living. The malevolent encounter had begun, and the mansion's secrets unfolded like a dark tapestry, weaving a tale of horror that intertwined with Alexandra's own haunted past. The spectral dance had commenced, and Alexandra was entwined in its macabre embrace, a solitary soul navigating the treacherous realms between skepticism and the supernatural. The air within the mansion hung thick with the weight of secrets, as Alexandra continued her descent into the abyss of the unknown. Each creak of the floorboards beneath her seemed to echo the tormented whispers of the past, beckoning her further into the heart of the haunted mansion. The flickering candlelight danced on the walls, casting grotesque shadows that seemed to writhe and contort, as if the very darkness itself had taken a tangible form. Alexandra's breath caught in her throat as she stepped into a room shrouded in a veil of unearthly silence. The atmosphere was oppressive, as though the walls were closing in around her, conspiring with the malevolent entity that lurked within. The ghostly whispers, once mere fragments of chilling tales, now coalesced into a symphony of tortured voices. They spoke of long-forgotten sins, of souls trapped in eternal torment, and the insatiable hunger of the entity that feasted on the despair it sowed. As Alexandra moved through the mansion's labyrinthine corridors, she stumbled upon a forgotten library, its shelves lined with dusty tomes that seemed to pulse with hidden knowledge. Fingers trembling, she reached for an ancient volume, its leather-bound cover cracked and weathered. The pages, yellowed with age, revealed illustrations of dark rituals and forbidden pacts. Each revelation sent shivers down her spine, confirming the malevolent force's connection to a sinister past. The walls themselves seemed to breathe, pulsating with an otherworldly energy that wrapped around Alexandra like a suffocating cloak. She felt the entity's presence grow stronger with every step, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling, revealing the grotesque tableau that lay beneath. In a moment of chilling revelation, Alexandra found herself standing in the mansion's dilapidated ballroom. The grandeur of a bygone era clashed with the decay that now engulfed it. The room pulsated with a malevolent energy, and Alexandra sensed the entity's anticipation, its hunger for her fear palpable. A sudden gust extinguished the candles, plunging the room into darkness. From the shadows emerged a figure, ethereal and twisted. The malevolent entity materialized before her, its form a grotesque amalgamation of sorrow and malevolence. Its eyes, hollow voids that seemed to peer into the very core of Alexandra's soul, held the weight of centuries. The entity's voice, a symphony of anguished wails, echoed through the room, recounting Alexandra's deepest fears and insecurities. It whispered of her traumatic past, exploiting the vulnerabilities that lay dormant within her. Alexandra felt her sanity unraveling, her mind teetering on the precipice of madness. As the malevolent entity toyed with her psyche, the room trembled and the walls seemed to close in. Alexandra's breath quickened, her pulse raced, and she realized that the entity fed on her fear, growing stronger with every heartbeat. In the pitch black darkness, Alexandra stood at the mercy of the malevolent force, a mere mortal confronting the incomprehensible. The mansion, a spectral stage for the unfolding horror, bore witness to the torment that unfolded within its walls, leaving Alexandra teetering on the edge of despair. The veil between the living and the supernatural grew thinner, and the malevolent entity reveled in the anguish it had wrought. The shadows clung to the walls like sentient entities, whispering secrets of forgotten horrors. Alexandra felt the weight of the mansion's history, pressing upon her as she ventured deeper into its cursed embrace. The air hung heavy with the scent of decay, and the only sound that had dared to cut through the silence was the rhythmic patter of rain against the mansion's ancient windows. Every step seemed to echo through the desolate corridors, a haunting reminder of her solitary journey into the heart of malevolence. Ghostly whispers, barely audible, brushed against her consciousness, revealing fragments of the entity's origins. Alexandra's senses were in a constant state of flux, teetering on the edge of reality and the supernatural. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, responding to her presence. Unseen eyes followed her movements, and the creaking floorboards beneath her feet sounded like the anguished moans of the spirits long trapped within these decaying walls. The mansion, once a symbol of opulence, now exuded an oppressive aura that clung to Alexandra like a suffocating shroud. As she delved further, the atmosphere shifted. Portraits of long-dead residents leered at her from the walls, their eyes following her every step. Each room harbored a memory, and Alexandra could feel the weight of the past bearing down upon her. She tried to maintain her composure, clinging to skepticism like a lifeline, but the malevolent entity tested the very limits of her resolve. The whispers grew more insistent, crawling into the recesses of her mind. Visions of her traumatic past intertwined with the spectral tales of the mansion's victims, blurring the lines between nightmare and reality. Alexandra's pulse quickened, and beads of sweat formed on her forehead as the mansion seemed to come alive, a malevolent force toying with her sanity. A sudden gust of wind extinguished the candles lining the corridor, plunging Alexandra into darkness. The oppressive silence was shattered by a symphony of unsettling sounds, phantom footsteps, distant whispers, and the rustling of unseen entities. Panic clawed at her chest, threatening to consume her reason. In the dim light of her flickering flashlight, the walls seemed to close in. Alexandra stumbled through the labyrinthine halls, pursued by unseen hands that grazed her skin like icy tendrils. As the whispers reached a fevered pitch, she questioned the very fabric of reality. The mansion became a nightmarish maze, and Alexandra, its unwilling captive, teetered on the brink of a descent into madness. In the heart of the mansion, where the entity's malevolence was most potent, Alexandra faced a pivotal choice: surrender to the darkness, or muster the strength to confront the horrors that lurked within her own mind. The final confrontation loomed, and the mansion held its breath, anticipating the outcome of a battle between the living and the supernatural. The air within the mansion hung heavy, pregnant with the malevolent energy that permeated every decaying corner. Alexandra's breaths echoed in the dimly lit hallway, each exhale a hesitant wisp of mist, testament to the storm raging outside. As she moved further into the heart of the mansion, the atmosphere became dense with a foreboding tension. The walls seemed to pulse with a sickening heartbeat, matching the rhythm of Alexandra's own anxious palpitations. A flickering candle cast elongated shadows that danced on the cracked, peeling wallpaper, creating an otherworldly ballet of darkness. Whispers, as ancient as the mansion itself, clawed at the edges of her consciousness, urging her to turn back. The corridor led her to a grand chamber, its entrance framed by moth-eaten velvet curtains that billowed ominously in the unfelt wind. The storm outside crescendoed into a symphony of fury, the rain battering against the windows as if nature itself recoiled at what awaited within. In the center of the room, a figure materialized, a shadow, a specter, an embodiment of the mansion's tortured history. Alexandra's pulse quickened as the malevolent entity took form, its features indistinct yet undeniably malevolent. A voice, a chorus of tormented souls, resonated through the air, each word laced with a bitter coldness that seeped into her bones. "You sought the truth, Alexandra Sinclair," it whispered, the syllables hanging in the air like ethereal daggers. "But truth is a double-edged blade, cutting through the veil of ignorance and revealing the abyss beneath." A cold sweat clung to Alexandra's skin as she stared into the abyss, her eyes locking with the entity's void, light gaze, The room seemed to constrict around her, the walls closing in like the jaws of some unseen predator. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down upon her, the sins of the mansion seeking retribution. With each step, Alexandra felt the tendrils of the entity's influence tightening around her, its malevolence seeping into her very soul. Visions of her own past flickered before her eyes. Visions of her own past flickered before her eyes. Fragmented memories and forgotten fears resurfacing in a maddening kaleidoscope. The line between reality and nightmare blurred as the entity played with the fabric of her sanity. "Who are you?" Alexandra demanded, her voice a defiant tremor that cut through the spectral murmurs. "I am the echo of despair, the lingering darkness that thrives on the secrets you unearthed," the entity replied, its form undulating like smoke. "You sought answers, and now you must face the consequences." As the final confrontation unfolded, Alexandra felt a surge of determination coursing through her veins. With each revelation, the storm outside mirrored the turmoil within her. The chamber resonated with the clash of forces. Human resilience pitted against supernatural malevolence. The climax reached its zenith as Alexandra, armed with newfound strength, confronted the entity head-on. The struggle played out in a spectral dance, a collision of wills that transcended the physical realm. Thunder roared outside, as if the heavens themselves bore witness to the battle between the living and the supernatural. In the aftermath, as the storm began to recede, Alexandra stumbled out of the mansion, forever changed. The air outside was crisp, the scent of rain and petrichor mingling with the lingering traces of the supernatural. The mansion loomed behind her, its secrets entombed once more in the shadows. As Alexandra emerged into the dawning light, she carried the weight of the haunted history on her shoulders. The thin veil between the living and the supernatural had been traversed, leaving her with a profound sense of unease. The mansion stood as a silent witness to the delicate balance between truth and the abyss. And Alexandra, marked by the scars of the final confrontation, walked away with a newfound understanding of the darkness that lingered in the shadows. The town slept, shrouded in the quiet embrace of the ancient woods that encircled it like a sentinel of secrets. Oliver Jones, a man with the weight of his own history etched into the lines of his face, gazed out from the creaking porch of the hotel he managed. The fog clung to the air, casting a ghostly pallor over the deserted streets. As the moon's silvery glow fought its way through the dense canopy of trees, Oliver felt a chill, one that went beyond the bone, deep cold of the night. His haunted eyes were drawn to the looming silhouette of the abandoned psychiatric hospital, its windows like hollow eyes staring into the void. The hotel, once bustling with life, now echoed with the hollow whispers of a bygone era. Shadows played tricks in the corners, dancing to a tune only the forsaken asylum seemed to hear. The town's secrets, buried in the soil and etched into the dilapidated walls of the hospital, beckoned Oliver with an irresistible pull. In the hushed stillness, Oliver couldn't escape the feeling that the past lingered, woven into the very fabric of the town. His fingers traced the edge of an old newspaper, a faded headline whispering of disappearances that had long since become the stuff of local legend. The tales spoke of souls swallowed by the shadows, leaving only unanswered questions in their wake. Oliver's journey into the heart of the mystery began with each footstep that echoed through the deserted streets. The ancient trees, their branches gnarled and twisted, seemed to stretch out towards him like skeletal fingers pointing towards the asylum, a monument to the town's darkest secrets. As he approached the hospital, its facade crumbled like the sanity of those who had once called it home. The air thickened, and the atmosphere became palpable with the weight of history. The moon, now obscured by wisps of fog, cast an ethereal glow on the cracked windows, revealing glimpses of the horrors that lay within. Oliver hesitated at the threshold, a moment of indecision before plunging into the abyss. The asylum's doors groaned as he pushed them open, and the silence within was shattered by the distant howl of an unseen creature. The flickering light of his lantern cast eerie shadows on the peeling wallpaper, as if the very walls were whispering secrets only the brave, or the foolhardy, dared to hear. The hotel manager's footsteps echoed through the desolate halls, each one a heartbeat in sync with the pulse of the town's haunted history. As he ventured deeper, the air thickened with the scent of decay, and his senses were assailed by the spectral symphony of whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Oliver's journey into the shadows had only just begun, the first chapter of a tale written in the ink of the forsaken and the forgotten. The night held its breath, anticipating the revelations that awaited in the decaying heart of the abandoned asylum. The moon cast a pale glow over the town, its silvery fingers barely penetrating the dense canopy of ancient woods that cradled the isolated settlement. Oliver Jones, the skeptical hotel manager with shadows lurking in his past, found himself drawn to the abandoned psychiatric hospital like a moth to a flame. The air hung heavy with the unspoken secrets of yesteryears, as if the decaying asylum itself whispered tales of madness and despair. The hotel manager's footsteps echoed in the quiet streets as he approached the looming structure. The hospital, once a place of healing, now stood as a skeletal reminder of the horrors that unfolded within its walls. Ivy snaked its way up the cracked facade, clinging to the remnants of a time long forgotten. As Oliver pushed open the creaking door, a gust of stale air greeted him, laden with the musty scent of decay. Dust motes danced in the feeble moonlight that filtered through shattered windows, revealing the abandoned remnants of medical equipment and frayed straitjackets strewn across the floor. His footsteps echoed in the empty hallways, a haunting cadence that seemed to awaken dormant spirits. Oliver's eyes scanned the peeling wallpaper, each layer telling a story of the asylum's gradual descent into darkness. The air grew colder, as if the building itself recoiled from the trespasser who sought to unearth its long-buried secrets. In a forgotten corner, Oliver discovered a dusty ledger, its pages filled with the names of patients long gone, their histories reduced to cryptic scribbles. As he traced the ink with trembling fingers, the voices of the past seemed to murmur, their pain echoing through the desolate corridors. He couldn't shake the feeling that the asylum itself was watching, its memories clawing at the edges of his consciousness. As the hotel manager delved deeper, he encountered a wizened townsperson, her eyes clouded with the weight of decades. With hesitant words, she spoke of Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood, the once respected psychiatrist who succumbed to the madness he birthed within these walls. She warned Oliver of the malevolent spirit that clung to the asylum, its hunger for redemption replaced by a thirst for revenge. Undeterred, Oliver pressed on, driven by an insatiable need to expose the truth. The veil between the past and present blurred, and he found himself lost in a labyrinth of forgotten horrors. The very air seemed to pulsate with the energy of tortured souls, each step echoing the desperation of those who had once sought refuge within these walls. As Oliver's lantern flickered in the suffocating darkness, he felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him, whispers of long-buried secrets, and the chilling laughter of the mad reverberated through the corridors, urging him to turn back. Yet, fueled by a relentless determination, he descended further into the heart of the asylum, unknowingly drawing closer to the malevolent spirit that awaited him in the shadows. The moon hung low in the ink, black sky, casting its feeble light upon the overgrown path leading to the abandoned asylum. Oliver's steps echoed through the dense fog that clung to the ground like a ghostly shroud, muffling the sound of his hesitant breaths. The air was thick with a palpable tension as he approached the looming structure, its skeletal silhouette eerily outlined against the night. Oliver pushed open the rusted gates, their groans of protest echoing through the silent valley. The asylum's facade, once imposing and now a crumbling relic, seemed to exhale the ghosts of its tormented past with each creak of its time-worn timbers. Ivy tendrils clung desperately to the decaying brickwork, as if nature itself sought to conceal the horrors within. As Oliver stepped into the dimly lit corridor, the air grew colder, and the walls seemed to whisper ancient secrets. Flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting unsettling shadows that danced with unseen entities. He clutched a dimly lit lantern, its feeble glow barely penetrating the oppressive darkness that surrounded him. The oppressive silence was shattered by the distant echo of a child's laughter, haunting and distorted. Oliver's heartbeat quickened, his skeptical mind waging war against the rising tide of unease. He pressed on, guided by an invisible force that drew him deeper into the asylum's bowels. The muffled sounds of footsteps echoed down the corridor, intermingled with the tormented cries of souls long forgotten. Each step carried Oliver further into the belly of madness, and he couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching him from the shadows. Turning a corner, he stumbled upon a room frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture, shattered glass, and discarded patient files littered the floor. The remnants of a life once lived, now reduced to a spectral echo in the silent halls. A flickering light above revealed faded photographs of patients, their hollow eyes staring into Oliver's soul. A sudden gust of wind extinguished Oliver's lantern, plunging him into suffocating darkness. Panic clawed at his throat as he fumbled to relight it, the oppressive silence shattered by the guttural moans and whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. In the dim light, the figure of a man materialized at the end of the corridor, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to flicker and distort with each passing second. Oliver's breath caught in his throat as the figure stepped forward, revealing the ghastly visage of Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood. The malevolent spirit, draped in tattered remnants of a once pristine lab coat, grinned maniacally. Hollow eyes locked onto Oliver, and a disembodied voice echoed through the corridor. "You shouldn't have come here, Mr. Jones. The shadows hunger for your secrets." Oliver's skepticism crumbled like ancient mortar as the malevolent laughter of Dr. Blackwood echoed through the asylum, setting the stage for a confrontation that would unravel the very fabric of Oliver's reality. The moon hung low in the ink, black sky, casting its feeble light upon the overgrown path leading to the abandoned asylum. Oliver's steps echoed through the dense fog that clung to the ground like a ghostly shroud, muffling the sound of his hesitant breaths. The air was thick with a palpable tension as he approached the looming structure, its skeletal silhouette eerily outlined against the night. Oliver pushed open the rusted gates, their groans of protest echoing through the silent valley. The asylum's facade, once imposing and now a crumbling relic, seemed to exhale the ghosts of its tormented past with each creak of its time-worn timbers. Ivy tendrils clung desperately to the decaying brickwork, as if nature itself sought to conceal the horrors within. As Oliver stepped into the dimly lit corridor, the air grew colder, and the walls seemed to whisper ancient secrets. Flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting unsettling shadows that danced with unseen entities. He clutched a dimly lit lantern, its feeble glow barely penetrating the oppressive darkness that surrounded him. The oppressive silence was shattered by the distant echo of a child's laughter, haunting and distorted. Oliver's heartbeat quickened, his skeptical mind waging war against the rising tide of unease. He pressed on, guided by an invisible force that drew him deeper into the asylum's bowels. The muffled sounds of footsteps echoed down the corridor, intermingled with the tormented cries of souls long forgotten. Each step carried Oliver further into the belly of madness, and he couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching him from the shadows. Turning a corner, he stumbled upon a room frozen in time. Dust, covered furniture, shattered glass, and discarded patient files littered the floor, the remnants of a life once lived, now reduced to a spectral echo in the silent halls. A flickering light above revealed faded photographs of patients, their hollow eyes staring into Oliver's soul. A sudden gust of wind extinguished Oliver's lantern, plunging him into suffocating darkness. Panic clawed at his throat as he fumbled to relight it. The oppressive silence shattered by the guttural moans and whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. In the dim light, the figure of a man materialized at the end of the corridor, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to flicker and distort with each passing second. Oliver's breath caught in his throat as the figure stepped forward, revealing the ghastly visage of Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood. The malevolent spirit, draped in tattered remnants of a once pristine lab coat, grinned maniacally. Hollow eyes locked onto Oliver, and a disembodied voice echoed through the corridor. "You shouldn't have come here, Mr. Jones. The shadows hunger for your secrets." Oliver's skepticism crumbled like ancient mortar as the malevolent laughter of Dr. Blackwood echoed through the asylum, setting the stage for a confrontation that would unravel the very fabric of Oliver's reality. The air in the dimly lit hotel room hung heavy with the weight of Oliver's past, casting long shadows that danced in rhythm with the flickering lamplight. The creaking floorboards beneath him echoed the haunting whispers that had followed him since he began this ominous journey. As Oliver sifted through dusty documents and yellowed photographs strewn across a makeshift desk, his mind echoed with fragments of memories, ghosts of a time he had long tried to bury. The hotel room became a chamber of reflection, each creak and sigh a mournful echo of his tortured thoughts. The incandescent glow of the lamp illuminated Oliver's face, etching lines of determination mingled with trepidation. His fingers traced the contours of a photograph, an image frozen in time, capturing the faces of those forgotten by all but the walls of the decaying asylum. Their eyes, hollow and haunted, seemed to implore him for justice. The clock on the wall ticked away, each sound punctuating the silence of the room. Oliver's breath caught as he uncovered a ledger detailing the experiments conducted by Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood. The macabre details unfolded like a sinister dance of words, and Oliver couldn't escape the realization that the malevolent spirit now hunted him, the living embodiment of those forgotten torments. A gust of wind outside rattled the window panes, echoing the mounting tension within Oliver's chest. He could sense the malevolent force drawing near, the veil between the past and present thinning with every passing second. In the dim room, shadows seemed to morph into grotesque shapes, playing tricks on Oliver's frayed nerves. As the clock struck midnight, the hotel room seemed to breathe in tandem with the malevolent spirit that lurked beyond. A sudden drop in temperature sent shivers down Oliver's spine, and he felt the weight of unseen eyes fixated on him. A spectral whisper brushed against his ear, a disembodied voice carrying the resonance of long-buried secrets. "Oliver," it murmured, a chilling invocation of his name that echoed through the room. His skepticism wavered, replaced by a bone-deep realization that the past had not released its grip on him. With trepidation etched on his face, Oliver ventured into the decaying asylum once more. The air within the abandoned halls clung to him like the breath of the forgotten souls that lingered in the shadows. His footsteps echoed through the emptiness, a haunting rhythm accompanying him into the heart of darkness. As Oliver descended into the bowels of the asylum, the walls seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy. The flickering light of his lantern cast elongated shadows that writhed and contorted like the tortured spirits trapped within. The resonance of unseen footsteps echoed through the corridor, a macabre dance of the supernatural. The climactic confrontation loomed, and Oliver could feel the malevolent spirit drawing closer, a palpable force in the suffocating darkness. The thin veil between sanity and madness teetered on the brink, and the ghosts of the asylum's past whispered their final lament. In the heart of the decaying asylum, Oliver confronted the demons of his past and the malevolent force that sought to drag him into the abyss. The air crackled with tension as the spectral showdown unfolded, the culmination of a journey through the shadows that would leave indelible marks on the hotel manager's soul. The air within the decaying asylum hung heavy with the weight of centuries. Old secrets suffused with the lingering scent of desperation and despair. Oliver Jones, the once skeptical hotel manager, found himself standing at the heart of the forsaken labyrinth, surrounded by peeling wallpaper and the echo of distant, tormented whispers. The flickering light from his lantern cast elongated shadows that danced across the cracked walls, creating an otherworldly ballet of darkness and ethereal glow. Every step sent shivers through the worn floorboards, as if the very soul of the asylum recoiled at his intrusion. Oliver's breath quickened as he approached the heart of the asylum, guided only by the haunting whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. The air grew colder, the darkness more oppressive, as though the malevolent spirit of Dr. Blackwood could taste the fear that now permeated the air. A distant moan echoed through the corridor, and Oliver's senses heightened. The shadows seemed to congeal, taking on sinister forms that danced at the periphery of his vision. The malevolent spirit, a specter of madness, materialized before him, its eyes ablaze with a malevolent gleam that spoke of centuries of torment. Oliver Jones, it intoned, the voice a cacophony of tortured souls. You dare trespass in my domain. Oliver's grip tightened on the lantern, his skepticism waning in the face of this unearthly manifestation. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if the asylum itself were a living entity, conspiring with the vengeful spirit. Why do you resist, Oliver? The spirit hissed, its voice carrying the weight of unspoken horrors. Do you not crave the truth? The redemption you seek lies within these walls. As the specter advanced, Oliver felt a surge of conflicting emotions: fear, curiosity, and an unrelenting determination to confront the demons that had haunted him. The asylum, a macabre stage, bore witness to the final act of a twisted drama that spanned decades. In a burst of supernatural fury, the malevolent spirit unleashed the tormented souls it had ensnared over the years. They materialized around Oliver, each one a visage of suffering and despair. Yet, amidst the ghastly specters, Oliver glimpsed familiar faces, the missing townsfolk, trapped in a nightmarish purgatory. With a courage born of desperation, Oliver raised the lantern high. Its feeble light flickered against the encroaching darkness, illuminating his face set in a determined grimace. I won't let you consume them, he declared, his voice echoing through the haunted halls. The final confrontation unfolded in a maelstrom of ethereal shadows, as Oliver battled the malevolent spirit for the souls ensnared within the asylum's decaying embrace. Each step forward was a defiance of the darkness that sought to claim him, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit against the encroaching horrors that lurked in the shadows. As the echoes of the struggle subsided, Oliver emerged from the asylum a changed man. The malevolent spirit, vanquished but not forgotten, left behind an unsettling quiet that echoed through the abandoned halls. The town, oblivious to the supernatural battle waged in their midst, remained enveloped in the timeless fog, unaware of the darkness that had been expelled from the shadows. And so, with the asylum now silent, Oliver Jones, the once skeptical hotel manager, stepped into the dawn, haunted by the memories of a night when the whispers in the shadows were laid to rest. But the scars of the past endured. The town, forever changed, was left to grapple with the aftermath, and the secrets buried within the decaying asylum would continue to cast their shadows over the land.